Hi, I'm Rashmi Andapalli. Very happy to be here. Today, I'm going to cover how to simplify your wide area network using Microsoft product Azure Virtual WAN. Like always, we have a ton of content, so I apologize in advance for going very fast. First, we'll cover the overview. Then we'll cover two partner announcements, followed by Microsoft product announcements. Then we'll touch on some customer use cases and some key takeaways, followed by a bit on pricing, and then we'll wrap it up. So let's get started. Azure Virtual WAN provides a unified hub and spoke architecture for connectivity, security, and routing using the Microsoft Global Backbone. This is network as a service, which provides you these simplified options for connectivity, security, and routing. So let's get started here. First, you deploy a virtual WAN. Then in it, you deploy multiple hubs. You can have various hubs, which are nothing but Microsoft VNets that you deploy in different regions. And as you start connecting the different users, we start looking at what kind of users. So you can have a remote user connect in, a branch user connect in, a private connectivity or an express route user connect in, or an SD-WAN user connect in. And as you start connecting in, these connectivity endpoints in virtual WAN are the gateways. Now, these gateways have different kinds of features. Now, you can be a small customer and get going, or you could be a huge enterprise customer that could be using Azure Virtual WAN with this hub and spoke topology, wherein on the branch side, you get scale, and not only on the branch, on the point to side or the remote user connectivity, on the express route side, also you get scale. On the branch side, you also get the ability to connect SD-WAN connection ins. And let's say if you had overlapping branch IPs, then you also can enjoy the NAT functionality on the Azure VPN gateway. On the remote user connectivity or the point-to-site VPN gateways, you get scale as well as global traffic manager. So what that means is if your user is, let's say, moving around in the globe, they can just download a global WAN profile and they can connect to any region automatically and access your Azure resources. We also support the Microsoft Azure Windows and Mac OS clients, so these clients can connect in to those point-to-site gateways. On the private connectivity side, ExpressRoute provides private connectivity into the ExpressRoute gateways. Now, if you are looking for encryption, you can do IPsec over ER, where the IPsec endpoint is the Azure VPN gateway. So now that you know about connectivity, what if you wanted to protect your traffic? So in Azure Virtual WAN, you have the ability to add an Azure firewall. And in that Azure firewall, you can have multiple security policies. So we allow both standard and premium capabilities. And by the way, these Azure firewalls conceptually are known as the Secure Hub capabilities. Now, let's say you didn't want the Azure firewall. You just wanted internet breakout policies for third-party systems like iBoss, Checkpoint, Zscaler, and so on. You can also do that. And let's say you didn't want the Azure firewall, all the policies, but you wanted your favorite network virtual appliance, you could also deploy that. Last but not the least, let's say you wanted to have multiple VNets connected and you wanted different kinds of routing. Routing is where virtual WAN shines. When you deploy a hub, you actually get a router, which is 3 Gbps in capacity out of the box. That router is provisioned inside each and every hub. Now, you can have multiple hubs, and every hub comes with its own router. This router enables you the ability to do transit. Now, you can have transit connectivity between VNets. You can have transit connectivity between branches and remote users. You can have transit connectivity between ExpressRoute and SD-WAN users. You can have transit connectivity across any of these spokes, which are VNets, branches, point-to-site users, or ExpressRoute or SD-WAN users. Additionally, we also support advanced routing. So you have the ability to propagate and associate route tables. You have also the ability to do routing intent and BGP peering, which I'm going to talk to you shortly after. Last, we also have the managed NBA solutions in Virtual WAN. These solutions are third-party or non-Microsoft solutions that are available in the Virtual WAN Hub. Speaking of managed NBA, let's look at the partner ecosystem. So first, when Virtual WAN started, we started with the IPsec connectivity. You had all these IPsec CPEs that were out there that would terminate their IPsec connection into the Azure VPN gateway. Then we extended the virtual WAN to include firewall policies for internet breakout through Checkpoint, iBoss, and Zscaler. And then as we heard our customers, they wanted solutions inside the Virtual WAN Hub. And that's how we started this managed NBA program. So first we introduced Barracuda, Cisco, and VeloCloud VMware SD-WAN. And there are a few other solutions that are coming up soon, but we are super happy to announce today the first NG firewall security solution from Fortinet, as well as the Versa SD-WAN now available in Azure Virtual WAN. So with that, let's hear from the Fortinet folks.
Hi, I'm Martin Twombly, Principal Cloud Solutions Architect at Fortinet. I'm excited to announce a new solution for IT and security professionals to effortlessly configure networking and security in Azure. You can now deploy Fortinet's market-leading secure SD-WAN solution into Azure Virtual WAN hubs. And for the first time in the industry, this also incorporates all the security capabilities of a next-gen firewall, extending the Fortinet security fabric to Azure Virtual WAN, allowing customers to manage security and SD-WAN policies under a single pane of glass. With a few clicks in a managed app, FortiGates are deployed into a virtual WAN hub. BGP peering dynamically extends secure SD-WAN capabilities into your VNets. Routing is configured through one-touch configuration from the Azure Virtual WAN portal. As an example, you might start with a virtual WAN hub and FortiGate in a single Azure region and connect a few branch offices via SD-WAN to business-critical applications in peered VNets. Now the FortiGate can serve as the zero-trust security provider for all VNet to VNet, branch to VNet, and VNet to Internet communication, scanning all traffic for security concerns. You can further expand to other Azure regions and connect global branch offices. This can be done seamlessly, with all routing and policy configuration managed by FortiManager and Azure Virtual WAN. Let's zoom in on a primary use case, connecting branches via SD-WAN with NGFW. Here on my branch FortiGate, you can see 4 tunnels going to the FortiGates hosted in Azure Virtual WAN. These are configured via SD-WAN policy as you see here. Similarly, looking at the view from one of the Azure FortiGates, there are 2 tunnels going to my branch. Since the FortiGates are load balancing via 4 active tunnels across 2 NVAs, scale and high availability are built in, as are all the benefits of FortiGate: application steering, deep packet inspection, malware detection, and more. Here you see a custom IPS signature triggering on traffic leaving an Azure VNet for my branch office. For more information on the first combined secure SD-WAN and next-gen firewall in Azure Virtual WAN, please contact us. Thanks for your time and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Okay, so now we heard from the Fortinet team how they support all the flows. Now let's look at what actually this is. Like, how does this differ if you were to do it yourself? If you were to go set up your virtual appliance in any cloud in Azure today, you would have to think about how to configure it, how to provision it, how to manage routing, how to manage the entire life cycle of upgrade, patching, HA, resiliency, support. There's so many things to consider. In Virtual WAN, we make it easy. You just need to know what your appliance is, and it is just done for you. You have all these options where you can go into the portal, pick the appliance of choice, a managed application is deployed behind the scene. The router in the Virtual WAN hub speaks BGP with the virtual appliance, so you don't need to worry about any routing, as well as any HA or resiliencies in the setup. You can also now no longer need to worry about any kind of support or upgrade or patching, because that all comes with the service. With that said, let's go to the second partner announcement here from Versa.
Hi everyone, I'm Rohan Ravindranath, Principal Solutions Architect at Versa, and I'm excited to present Versa's offering on Azure Virtual WAN today. Versa delivers SD-WAN, full-stack security, and carrier class routing as a fully integrated solution. And the entire network and security stack of Versa can be actioned in a single pass to optimize TCO. This solution is also natively multi-tenant, application-aware, and platform-agnostic. We are very excited today to announce that Versa SASE is now available within Azure Virtual WAN natively in private preview. Leveraging this, branch offices now get application-aware smart connectivity to your cloud workloads in Azure. This also guarantees adaptive cloud workload protection for your assets in Azure. Now let's take a look at this in action. From the Azure Virtual WAN Marketplace, select Versa SASE in vWAN offer and fill out the required parameters. My hub happens to be in West Central US. Notice here that the router IPs are automatically fetched. These will be needed to be populated in the Versa Orchestrator. Now let's log into the Versa Orchestrator. Using our workflows, we can go ahead and configure the cluster name, the interfaces, the routing config that we saw from the Azure portal, and I will also go ahead and select next generation firewall right out of the box. And with this, all the required configuration will be automatically downloaded to the Versa instances in Virtual WAN as part of our zero-touch provisioning process. So in a nutshell, this offer gives you the most optimal way to utilize the Microsoft backbone while blending in network, security, and application awareness from Versa. For a test drive of Versa in Virtual WAN, please reach out to us through the link on the screen.
Okay, so those were two partner announcements from Fortinet and Versa. And now let's switch gear to Microsoft product announcements. On the branch VPN side, we now have the ability to do packet capture. So you can set up different filters and you can enjoy packet capture on the Azure VPN gateway in the virtual WAN hubs. The second feature on the site-to-site VPN is the custom traffic selector. Often we hear from our customers the need to support either a narrow or a wide traffic selectors. So now you can enjoy that feature using the custom traffic selectors. On the remote user connectivity or the point-to-site VPN, we now have the ability to support remote or on-prem radius servers. So today, if you were to set up a radius server, you would need to do it locally on the hub where your users are coming in. Today, if you had to support remote users, you would have to do it on the hubs where your users are connecting into. Now, with this remote and on-prem radius server, you can now enable multiple solutions where you no longer need the radius server to be present in the local hubs. The next feature is in the routing area. Now, in Azure Virtual WAN, you have Azure firewalls. And with each firewall, you have the ability to apply policies. But something that happens magically behind the scene is all the routing. In the Firewall Manager of Azure Firewall, you can set up policies for private traffic, for internet traffic, and what happens behind the scene is the routing engine kicks in. So now we are super happy to extend this functionality front and center in the Virtual WAN portal as well. So you have the ability to set up routing intent and routing policies for any kind of traffic flows, whether it's north-south, east-west, Azure as Internet Edge, inter-hub, inter-region, whatsoever. Also, we now support branch-to-branch connectivity through the Azure Firewall in the sense that it will secure your traffic when it's coming from VPN or ExpressRoute branches. Earlier, we couldn't do that. If you wanted ExpressRoute to ExpressRoute security through Azure Firewall, that wasn't possible. Now it is. We also, through this routing intent, support a next hop of Azure Firewall or a managed NBA or a network virtual appliance that's available inside the Virtual WAN hub. The next routing feature is the ability to BGP peer with the Virtual WAN hub. This is a long-awaited feature that customers have asked us. With this, you can simplify routing. You no longer need to have manual updates to different route tables. You can just simply BGP peer with the Virtual WAN hub, which has the router inside, if your virtual appliance is sitting in a spoke VNet, and enjoy all the routing capabilities. Last but not the least, on the routing side, we have enabled the ability to prefer the hub-to-hub path over an ExpressRoute circuit that's connected to two different hubs. Traditionally, you would have an ExpressRoute circuit connected to two different hubs and then have VNet to VNet traffic flowing through those MSEs or the edge routers. Now, those edge routers don't have capacity built in for you. So in Virtual WAN hubs, we have the router that starts off with 3 Gbps, and then it scales out and scales in according to the traffic that's moving through it. So with this feature, the hub-to-hub path is the default pathway now enabled, and it's soon going to be the default behavior when we GA this feature next year. Okay, now that we went over our partner and our feature announcements, it's time to look at some customer scenarios and some key takeaways. This is a common question we get, so we thought we'll cover this in this session. The first customer is a financial customer. They have hundreds of remote users, and they're all using on-prem VDI. They had different business applications hosted on-prem. So as they started looking at the challenges, they learned that they had challenges with infrastructure management. They had some business continuity issues. They also needed to look into data security. So when they considered Azure, they moved into a hub and spoke topology where with Virtual WAN, they got any-to-any routing. With all their workload in Azure, some of it also on-prem, they were able to set up end-to-end encryption through encryption, and they also dramatically improved the reliability and performance. So the takeaway here is, if you're considering a hub and spoke topology in Azure, then think about encryption. If you're using ExpressRoute, Think about custom routing when you're looking at routing or traffic policies for your workloads in Azure. The second customer base that we touch upon here is the retail customer. We have a retail customer A with hundreds of sites with about 1500 plus VPN tunnels coming into the Azure VPN gateway. The second customer here had a topology of a primary and a DR region in Europe, and they were primarily using express route connectivity coming into Azure. The challenges seemed similar. They had latency issues, they had high costs with dedicated lines, they had a complex design, they required a lot of manual configuration. So when we start looking at the topology, it starts to look like this. Multiple VNets or networks, and then you start stitching up the networks. You have hybrid connectivity, on-prem connectivity coming in, trying to access all these resources, and soon it becomes very complicated. So this customer A basically did the same. They set up multiple regions, they set up a bunch of hubs, they set up a bunch of spokes, and they improved their latency, they got ease of use, they got cost efficiency through virtual WAN side-to-side VPN, and they also improved their efficiency in configuration and management. So the takeaway for this customer was that if you are looking for scale, cost efficiency, cross-region configuration, and just ease of management, consider virtual WAN with regional hubs. The second customer here basically had a security requirement. They wanted a first-party firewall. So Azure Firewall met all their required security guidelines. They got that, and along with it, they also got branch-to-branch connectivity by default. This also helped them simplify their routing and scalability challenges that they had, because as soon as you add another VNet, the automatic routing and the security kicks in, and this just simplified their entire setup. So the takeaway here is, if you're looking for security, think about Azure Firewall, or now you can also think about these network virtual appliances that could be provisioned inside the virtual WAN hubs. And let's say if you have express route connectivity coming in, you could consider different providers to the same hub or the region. All right, the last customer here is from the services sector. This customer basically provides services to their end users or end customers. They were deployed in 6 Azure regions. Now they have expanded to more, but basically they had a bunch of spoke VNets with a lot of virtual appliances, some for SD-WAN, some for firewall, and the users were all coming to those virtual appliances. The problem they had was there was this route limit with routing. And in order to overcome that, we were able to enable the BGP peering capability. So with that, the takeaway here is that if you have a hub and spoke, and if you have a virtual appliance in any spoke that's attached to a virtual WAN hub, consider BGP peering with the virtual WAN hub. This way you can not only enjoy all the functionality, you can also simplify the global routing challenges that you may have. With that, we switch gears to pricing. This is a common question we get from our customers about how do you price it? Why do you not have a single price? Well, the answer to that is if you had a single price, then it would be a big number. And because cloud is all about choices, we wanted to provide you some flexible pricing. So let me walk you through how to calculate the pricing. So there are basically 2 concepts. One is fixed and the other is variable. On the fixed side, let's say you deploy a hub. So the hub basically comes with a 3 Gbps router. As soon as you deploy a hub, the 25 cents an hour kicks in. And let's say if you have multiple VMs in different spokes that are attached to a virtual WAN hub, those VMs are routes, and those routes need to be processed by the router. We support up to 2,000 VMs across all VNets connected to one single hub. And again, this is one single hub. If you were to extend it, for every 1,000 VMs, we charge additional 10 cents. Now you may be thinking, okay, when does the hub data processing kick in? Well, the hub data processing charges kick in when there's traffic flowing through the router. And this is usually the case when you have VNet to VNet transit, or maybe you're going to access a VNet in a remote region. That's where the data processing charges kick in. But let's say if you had an Azure firewall in the path, then the firewall charges and the firewall data processing kicks in. There is no concept of router data processing. So it's all about flexibility. And let's say you did not want the Azure firewall, you did not want the router, but you basically wanted to apply some third-party policies through the Azure Firewall Manager. The charges for the hub then is 40 cents an hour. So the whole concept of different use cases come in, which is where the cost comes in as a fixed or a variable cost. Now, when you're going between the hubs, let's say you're going from US to Australia, or let's say you're going between US to Europe, the charges inter-region comes in. There is no concept of in and out charges. It's basically region to region, which is based on source and destination. So if the traffic's going from US to Europe, the charge is different than, let's say, going from US to Australia. Now, let's say you have some connectivity or connections coming in. Basically, we don't have a bunch of SKUs. It's just 2 SKUs, scale units and connection unit. Scale unit basically implies the capacity of the gateway. So whether it's a VPN gateway, an express route gateway, they have some capacity. And for example, 500 Mbps is 1 scale unit, so you pay per hour. And let's say you have multiple connections coming in. So depending on the number of connections, you have a connection per hour charge. So to keep it simple, it's just scale unit and connection unit. Of course, when you leave Azure, the egress charges kick in, which has got nothing to do with virtual WAN. And also, if you're going between the regions, hub to hub, the US, Australia, the US, Europe example, the inter-region charges kick in. Now, let's say you add VNets. So when you add multiple VNets to a hub, and you can have multiple hubs in a region, there is connections, right? But we don't charge for the connection unit. The connection unit is free when you are attaching VNets within Azure because it's all within Azure. But if there is traffic going in and out of a spoke VNet, the VNet peering charges for that spoke VNet kicks in. There is no charge for VNet peering on the Azure hub side. But of course, if you're leaving Azure, the Azure egress charges kick in. If the traffic is flowing through a firewall, the firewall data processing kicks in. And if you're going between the region, the inter-region data transfer charges kick in. And these charges are all documented in the Azure bandwidth charge page. The last one is the virtual appliance. We just learned about the different virtual appliance solutions. So whenever a virtual appliance is deployed, it comes with its own set of compute and storage, etc. So for every 500 Mbps, we charge for 1 scale unit about 25 cents an hour. And for the virtual appliance charge that is specific to the vendor or the ISV or the partner, the marketplace charges apply. Of course, the Azure egress charges and the inter-region charges don't change. And this is just to kind of give you an idea of how to compute the charges. So in general, you have the fixed charges and you have the variable charges. And depending on your use case, you can do the calculation. So let's summarize. Today, we learned about a bunch of announcements. On the connectivity side, we learned about branch or site-to-site VPNs, packet capture, and custom traffic selectors. On the remote user or the point-to-site connectivity, we learned about remote radius servers. On the security side, we also learned about routing intent. It enables you to do branch-to-branch traffic inspection through the Azure firewall. And then on the routing side, we learned about preview features of BGP peering, inter-hub over express route path, and also new solutions from Fortinet and Versa. So virtual WAN provides you a ubiquitous connectivity, security, and routing network as a service using the Microsoft Global Backbone. So if you are looking to simplify your wide area network, consider virtual WAN. I hope this was useful. Thank you for watching.